Oh,
And live. In my first stream I did, I was thinking about like all the people that we've we've watched videos of. Like so Crypto King does his hello Zen community or hello Titan X community, very subtle and kind of downward. Um, or there's Crypto Kindness with his like
yep.
snap points. Um, just all the different people, and I go, I got nothing. The Blaze team has their like they have a whole song dedicated with video that, hey, hats off to them. More power where they're going. But here we are.
Hey, nothing is something. I don't care what you think. Nothing is absolutely something, especially when some things are everywhere. So,
Ain't that the truth?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Did you see the Genius Act, that stablecoin? It passed the Senate.
Did see the pass the Senate? Yep. Still needs to work on the House. I believe it is next.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it went House to Senate. Does it go Senate to House?
It might be. I mean, dude, I'm a Canadian, so I don't know
Yeah.
U.S. systems super well. But I saw a post somewhere that said it went Senate. Now it has to work on the House. That
Okay.
person could be out of touch, but that was just what I had seen. So, I mean, could just ask the big smart technology that we all have access to now called AI.
I'm asking Grok. Go.
Okay, well, I won't ask Grok as well then. But I did see that.
Let's go to Oh, you're right. It does go, or it goes to the House, not Congress. I thought it was the other way around. Okay. Well, now we know. So it moves to the House. Cool. Okay. But yeah, I saw it passed and went, cool. Anyway.
What are your thoughts on the Genius Act then? What do you think about it?
I have to read more. So I'll be honest, I've been paying a lot more attention to the dubbed big beautiful bill. I've kind of paid attention to that because there are some laws within there that I just, or even not even laws, but permissions granted. I.e., like like I'm an outdoorsman, fishing, hiking, hunting, you name it, and there was provision there to sell 2 to 3 million acres worth of land, and I'm just like, hang on a second. Hold on. Wait a second. And then there's another one where you could build, you don't, AI data centers would ignore state regulation as far as how close they could be built to the population, and that it would supersede any state, and it would allow, it would have to immediately whatever the federal government says. So then, I mean, you could essentially have a AI data center in your backyard, almost. And so I was my eyes were more on that than it was on the Genius Act. How about you?
Well, I was going to say this very similar because I saw the 10 years of no state regulations on AI, and you got the Clarity Act, you got the Genius Act, and you've got the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and all of them are basically like the holy trinity of like regulation, AI, taking over, and like privacy invasion, essentially. So it's like the Clarity Act defines exactly what they can regulate. The Genius Act makes sure that everyone that wants to get those new securities or those new assets is regulated. They have KYC. Everyone's tracked. All their information is known completely. And then the One Big Beautiful Bill allows that to go even further. So now it's not just people that are able to track all that. Now AI can go in and basically regulate and be a part of literally your everyday life in all possible ways. So it's kind of like we're walking into. I don't think we're sleepwalking anymore. I think we're just walking into it at this point, knowingly.
It's like, I'm sure you've seen the GIF, like when you send it to someone, it's like a bear and then a little bear, and it's just come here. It's like the hug one. It's just like, come here. And you just like embrace it. It's just one big hug.
I haven't seen that one, but I can imagine.
Yeah. All right, we got 20 people. We'll just get rolling. So I mentioned, I tweeted this in your response, and let me show you what, or actually, am I supposed to do some kind of intro? Hey, I was just going to jump right into it,
Dude,
honestly.
just send it. We're already in it. Let's go.
Cool. So what I saw yesterday on Glassnode, all right, let me find, there we go. Make sure let's add to stage. It was active addresses. And I found this fascinating in that, and this is just for Ethereum. ETH active addresses, and an active address is defined. Okay, hang on. I saw this the other day. I saw this yesterday. But is where it's like whatever's executed, permission between either a contract or even between two addresses, and they're actively receiving or sending, whether it's ETH or anything within the Ethereum network.
And so any ERC any ERC token or the gas token.
Yeah. And okay. I found it fascinating that right now, I say right now, since taken out in my mind, at least taken out anomalies like this spike, these 3 spikes, but since about December-ish 2021, it's been sideways. The active addresses. And whenever these big, I say big runs, when we think of big runs, so like I'm just looking at, we'll say 2017 to the high of towards the end, 2018, it went from about 10 to 20,000 active addresses, and then it just went on a parabolic run on the number of active addresses as time went up to its high, and then dropped down. So I'm just interrupting when you feel like it. This was interesting coming from the standpoint of, yes, because people are, retail is going to be jumping in, so on and so forth. But it wasn't to go from 13,000, we'll say 10 to 20,000, and then at the high to be almost 600,000 wallets. We haven't seen any kind of, so that was the first parabolic. The second run, it kind of started normalizing and averaging out at 100 to 200,000 active addresses through 2018, 2019. And then at one point, the number of active just decided to do all of a sudden a 5x in number of active addresses. Whereas here, we're looking at at least a 10 to 50x number of active addresses. And
what's interesting to one side note there to say on this too is look at the date of when the bottom roughly was on the 17 run when we started moving up. That was February 17th or February of 2017, roughly. February, January, December, somewhere in there, right? Look at the bottom that we've had on the ETH chart now. It correlates to 8 years later, near February. It's like not far. It's kind of like, so if we're looking at this chart now, if this is going to be us ticking up, we have, let's assume we have a year, because look at the top from the last, the last bottom from 17, to the top, we had a year, full year. And if we basically go again from the bottom, we have February 20 to February was, or just before February of 22 was the top, which is crazy because that's 2 years. So now, are we getting longer and longer here?
I wonder. We had that parabolic, then it's it's like it went and did like, I'm thinking like an incline. It
Mhm.
went almost straight up. And then it's kind of been it was gradual. Like you're saying from here, it still went up, but it was gradual. And then looking at since February of 22 onward, I mean, it looks like it's going to take a while.
It really does. But what's in do you have access to I can even pull up on my end if we need to as
Yeah,
well.
please do.
There is transaction I think it's number of transactions. Let me just find it's on Ethereum. It's another one as well, but it correlates to what you're showing here, which is ETH number of transactions. It might be on the dashboard for ETH actually.
Okay. Sending addresses, receiving active addresses with contracts.
Yeah, even if you click just at the top where it says home charts and dashboards at the very top, I think if you just click dashboards, it should right in the center top. Yeah, there you
we go.
And then it should show ETH number of transactions.
Yep.
If you click on that, I find this one interesting because anytime we saw transactions start to go parabolic, we saw price run start to go with it. And so right now we're actually seeing a higher low followed by an uptick in transactions again on the ETH chart.
Oh yeah.
So this is really fascinating, and you could change this so that way the price is not just linear. You could change it to log as well on the scale.
All right, I'm gonna have to help me out with this.
Just at the top of the chart, right above vertical on your mouse, right?
Oh.
That's and one over to the left.
Scale.
There it is. Yeah, and then
you
go price log.
Thank you. Interesting.
So this is interesting. This is very interesting. So we're seeing for the first time again, look at how vertical transaction volume is going.
Yeah.
And usually this kind of precedes price run, typically. And we're going vertical right now on the transaction volume.
Yep. Let's see if we can, let's take a, I don't like, that's a pretty ugly chart. I do not like that at all. Let's
if you take the little, see right below the chart, there's a little slider.
Oh yes.
You can take either end of it. You can, so that's the tail end. You can take the beginning of it and you can drag it in.
Let's drag it in from. Interesting.
It's starting to tick up again.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's kind of showing, and there's got to be a substantial gap between number of transactions and where price is. And then when there's that substantial of a gap, I'm trying to look for commonalities in the chart. Gap, spikes, not really interested. Yes, that was bear. I find interesting how even after the top in 2021, 2022, whichever you want to look at it, there was still this large, and this is looking at a chart, just trying to find patterns somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when ETH dropped down to 1400, whichever it was here a couple months ago, but there's relatively been this large gap in between the number of transactions and price. And it didn't, what, aside from, yes, transactions increased, but transactions are more here than they were back here, yet price is higher. Let's see, where was that top last year? Are those, but there's the December. Yeah, so I'm looking at 3,800 to $4,000 price of ETH, and transactions were 1.3 1 to 1.3 million. We're back there, but yet price of ETH is not. So obviously, yes, no correlation doesn't equal causation. So this isn't correlated. I don't know. I'm just talking what I'm noticing. If there's something.
For sure.
Hmm.
The biggest thing that I've seen is like when like we've seen the transactions kind of like trend upwards, but then there's a difference between trending up and going vertical.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, if you look at the steepness of transaction increases, prices typically follow with the largest amount of increases when transactions have gone more vertical than they have upward and sideways. And so I think this is, I mean, you could say two things. One, you could say this is maybe similar to like December 19, or you could even say that it's similar to June, July, August, somewhere in there of 22, because we see a massive spike in there and then it just falls right back down. The difference, though, I think, and I'm sure you'd agree for this, is that the retail hasn't shown up, and we're at a very different place in the cycle versus the literal bottom. Right? Like that was probably someone, or maybe a couple people, maybe that was Richard or a few of his whale buddies, or some big players and institutions being like, okay, the bottom's in. We're going to buy up all the ETH and create the bottom. And then now the other ETFs and institutions are still buying. And
ain't that the truth? Right.
So now we're at a place where retail hasn't shown up. The bottom is clearly in. We have a higher low and a major bounce back up to like $2,500 for the ETH price. Retail's nowhere to be found. And the transaction volume is still somehow increasing, even though it feels dead.
Yep.
So to me, that's a recipe. That's a pretty good recipe.
Yeah. Retail hasn't shown up.
Not even a little bit. They don't even know. It's crazy how dead the crypto is to the world right now. You know, obviously there's a lot going on. Obviously, you've got a war going on right now. That's kind of, we don't know where that's going to go. But even like Bitcoin literally has done all-time highs twice to 6 figures. And retail is MIA. Nobody cares.
No one cares.
No one cares at the moment, which actually is really interesting, because it to me, that speaks of another psychological phenomenon. Like, well, what made people care last time?
Yeah.
Right. And that, I think, has a lot to do with the media and what the media says and what everyone says, because this comes back to like what gives things value, right? If you think something's valuable, well, does that make me more likely to think it's valuable as well? I mean, I think there's a lot of research and data out there to show that when one person says this thing has value, another person is more likely to think it has value as well.
Oh, yeah.
But if no one thinks anything has value, no one's talking about it, no one cares, right? But as soon as someone says, like, we've all seen it time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I think this is what we're waiting for, is the media to start posting. And I thought we were going to go for a moment there, because I saw a CNBC headline that came out a little while ago. Yeah, that was like Bitcoin's primed to go to 135 or 140K or something like that. And I was thinking, this is the first one. Okay, interesting.
Here we go.
And then nothing.
Yeah, here it is. 8 days ago. It's the first time I kind of had and it's a little bit part of what you were saying. It's a little bit of a revelation of, and I wonder if there's any human psychology of it, where it's like, I don't know what's going on, so I need someone to tell me. And then once someone tells me, then, okay, I know what to look for. I know what to do, because then I can navigate once someone tells me, as opposed to let me try and sort this out.
Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty accurate, especially when you don't know how things work and you're very new and You know,
Yeah.
it's all smoke and mirrors, it seems, right?
Oh yeah.
And when in reality, that's all it is, anyways. But
There, one of the streams I did, actually, I'm going to give to Trust Tide X plan a lot of volume we will never see. Yes, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Who's that? Who's that to me? That's a whose address is this? We don't know. We just know that person, i.e., was it BlackRock accumulated how many millions of ETH in the past week, or one of Blackstone, whomever. Um, no, yeah, I think there's a human psychology of, and like you said, yes, you don't know what you don't know, and but to get on the forefront and be like, all right, I'm ahead of this, or I'm in tune with it, or I'm in lockstep. You don't know. You don't. I guess that's where the risk is for people. Like, can you
mhm.
jump into something that you don't know, or do you have to know in order to like? Yeah, if you go in when you don't know, there's the risk reward.
Mhm. Mhm. It's just I honestly I don't blame people though for wanting to wait for the narratives, even though they don't know that that's what they're waiting for,
Yeah,
because there's like so many sub games and so many sub layers to this, and now that now that we've come to this point where it's like I feel like I actually am getting the hang of understanding how things work. It's like it's all a game. The George Carlin quote is like, it's one big club and you ain't in it.
yep.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's true here as well. It's like, okay, so what you're telling me is we went through a bear market. Then the big players got to come in,
Yep.
load up their bags, wait for the perfect time for the market, and then go to pay all their buddies
Yep.
that own all the media outlets to say, okay, tell the retail now to buy so we can get exit liquidity, right? Or you can increase the value of our bags now that we've been buying. We've been silent about it.
Yep.
And then when we have enough, we'll take profits and send them into a bear market and, pass some laws to get control. And it's like this
100%.
crazy twisted game that I really don't blame anyone for, operating the way that, we call noobs operating.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're all trying to. I mean, yeah, we're all trying to do. We're all trying to. Part of it's just human nature. We're all trying to do what we can to. Was it Maslow's hierarchy of needs? We're trying to get to the top. Like we want to make
Oh, the
sure everything.
self-actualization pyramid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then you get to a point, but then there's also like being able to have power and control and steer the ship, being able to do that. Any charts I could bring up for you, or anything that you've noticed here recently, or even, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're waiting on us to use their savings account instead of, yeah, exactly.
Come on, that you're going to get great returns on 1.5%.
Oh my God. 1.5%, man. Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like you could just bring up any chart and that will just sum up my next point. Is like, when you're in crypto for long enough, whether it's a year or two, I think you hit a certain point as a person where you've realized where you have been here and been completely desensitized. You've been baptized in the fires of crypto, and
Yeah.
now 1.5%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% is just another day at the office, and you're just like, okay, nothing really phases you, and you're like, I don't know, well, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh,
That's, to me, is the crazy part. So now it goes to, and now when we hear 1%, we're like, what are these small, puny little numbers?
what does not compute.
No, I see that loss in like 30 minutes.
I watch my portfolio just go 5 to 10% up and down a day.
Literally. Oh man.
But okay, so to the earlier point on things becoming more elongated. So this is granted, this is this is into the cryptoverse, the crypto market cap trend line. Parabolic, slight cool off, up, looks like, let's see, and this is just basing it off total market cap, so grain of salt. Won't slowly increase, but I'm trying to look as if I were to flatten out the line and then pump, cool off, and it just hasn't reached the upper band, hasn't touched it or kissed it since December of that, when that top hit. And it's just yes, there was a nice little run up here, but it's just been hovering over, as an entire asset class, just hovering over this fair value for how long now? Jeez, you could argue almost 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's really interesting to see that chart and to see, you have only one of those tops looks different to me. And that's the 2021, 2022. And what's interesting is I think we've seen a lot of people, or I'll speak for myself here. I've seen a lot of people that are talking about how they're there's a lot of comparison to like, is this like 17 or is this like 21, 22? And it's like, well, we've only had one top that looked at all like 22.
yeah.
And that was 22, right? Everything else has looked like 2017, where it's like this, this straight line under the red line, so to speak, and then it just goes parabolic. And then we come down, we reset, we stay under the red line, we go parabolic. We have a nice peak. But in 22, we had a lot of tightening going on after COVID that really killed that bull. And we didn't have that same thing going on in the previous run. So the question is, we're currently in a state of, well, not tightening. I guess you could maybe say it's tightening, but it's not QE, right? The printer hasn't been turned on yet.
No, it hasn't.
And so, but the likelihood is so far that we don't go from printing, because we're not already printing, to more tightening, So I think what's interesting is if we had a compressed top this last time, and maybe we were supposed to see 100K in the last time, maybe, obviously, who knows? But like, let's say it's like deferred gains, right? Well, what if we actually touch the top this time? Where does that bring us? If we were to go top a year from now, let's say, so,
you want to bring up, or if you're doing something on a chart, you feel free to
I'm just eyeballing yours. I'm just trying to see. That looks like it would be like, what if you go to the top of that band and then go to like the 2026?
What's that?
What does that bring us to? It's like 50 trillion.
50 to 60 trillion through 9 months. Yeah. Or okay, so just under, we'll say 50 to 65 trillion, depending upon where, but that's market cap. If we
if we could see that with the chart, with the price chart, that'd be cool.
Yeah, hang on one second. Bitcoin, you've been around for enough. I'll look at you like, oh crap, I don't know trading view charts that well. Do you know how to do here? Never mind.
I was just yeah, exactly. That's a crazy chart. When you look at it like that, everything's like, I mean, that's pretty gnarly.
Okay. Wow. Even at the top. Also, we have to also comment, or I want to add, last cycle was a double top. Wasn't before that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a single top, and then everything just cooled off. And then we hadn't had a double top before. Shoulder, head, shoulders, we'll say about right here. Until the next kind of slow ramp up. 273 days. This one's weird, depending upon how to do chart reading. You could, This was 120 to 150 days, depending upon how you want to read. Where do you want that? Where you can, well, let me get rid of this. This whole segment right here, when it did, and then initial leg up, and this, at least this section kind of looks to me right here where ETH just went, and then it's just kind of mucking around, maybe. But so that was 273. We'll say this bear was if I'm considering everything going down, I guess I would have to change that chart. I'm trying to think of things as if I'm looking at it, things going relatively sideways.
I see.
As if I'm like a liquidity provider and I want something within a tight band. That's how I'm thinking about all this sideways action that's going on. So it from, I mean, where was I here? I was trying to get my first job out of college right here. So I was not paying, I should have been paying attention to Bitcoin, but nonetheless, it kind of just did up, parabolic up, down, sideways, and then steadily grow. And then it went down, and for a very brief, short period of time, then it started growing sideways for, how long was this? Let's say, holy cow, plus or minus 50 days, 30 to 50 days for almost a year and a half, under a year and a half. It was sideways.
Minus the COVID dip.
Minus the COVID dip. It was, and then it was already going up irregardless of, no, because COVID, everything started happening in March of 20. I keep thinking 21. May, everyone all right, everyone can go outside again, dip, and then 7 months later, hey, we're back, everybody, double top. I don't know. There's not a lot of patterns to me. I don't see a lot of patterns. And I don't know if you, let's see here. I know we've seen I'm gonna see if I can do it better. Oh no. Never, I'm using a mouse pad, but I was trying to go for a shape on a general bend of the line, because maybe now that institutions are involved, because I'm thinking about, all right, stock market, things don't go big swings. It's slow, steady, and then when they get there, it's like, oh, wait, how did we get there? So when did we get there? Like one chart I've looked at, this is not an endorsement. This is not me saying, oh, go buy this stock. But like IBM stock, I think is at an all-time high. But if you were to look at it, thank you, TradingView. Taking a look at it on the month, to get to the point where it's at now, it's taken a long time. That's a long time. Yes, you could say, oh, look at all these great moves, all the buys and everything going on. But I'm just going to approximate from the first time it may be a local low, February of 16 to where that's almost 10 years. You're looking at a long stinking time. Or let's pick up when it hit maybe a bottom within the past 14 years. 2,400 days. And then, yes, but then you can argue, oh, well, then when did it start doing this more parabolic run up? If that's what you want to dub it. It's taken 2 years. I think a new CEO came in the past couple of years. But nonetheless, so this is at least the way my brain is thinking and I'm thinking about is if this is how institutions, once you have institutional, oh shoot, unless you're Tesla, then, but they haven't been around it. Oh no, just a hypothetical guess. If institutions are around a little more, then that could be potential reason.
Would say that again.
Oh, a potential reason why we're taking longer for what Bitcoin or ETH or any of these to really start hitting those highs is once institutional investors have joined. Now that they've joined and they're major players, we're seeing 10, 20 billion-dollar buys of ETH and Bitcoin. The rise is slower because I don't know, I'm not sure math or anything behind it, but it's just because I'm in just thinking about how stocks move, unless there's something freaky. And if you know something, if I'm wrong in all this, call me out. This is just my hypothesis of the little bit I know. If
Well,
I'm making any sense or if I need to explain a little further.
no, you're making sense. What I would say is I see it with BTC and ETH. Like if you look at where the buys are coming from, they're not on exchanges. They're all OTC.
Yeah.
Right. So this isn't pushing up the price at all. If we were to see that same $10 billion or $25 million going into ETH through the exchanges, like buying up through the order books, buying up BTC through the order books, you'd see a completely different price chart, I think. And
Sure.
a couple reasons why. Now you could be completely right. This is where mine go in terms of, we might see a nice slow climb up over the years, similar to stock. I think we might get there eventually, but there's also, at least for me, when I look at like the Genius Act and the Clarity Act and all those acts coming in, there's this emerging between the lines image that starts to come out of like, and if you look at Shopify now accepts USDC.
I saw that. Yep.
So slowly, and then all of a sudden, it's going to be easy access for retail to be able to buy things, right? And at that point, there's this overlap of crypto and the real world that begins to happen seamlessly. And I think that's when it's going to become very easy for money that was not in crypto to enter in. And it's going to, well, I shouldn't say it's going to, but I would foresee it moving the price much more rapidly than we're seeing right now, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards that side, I think, at this point.
Sure.
Just not because of my own bags and my own bag bias, but
yeah.
More so just as like we look at the way things are going, and it's like it just seems to me so far to have a lot going for it theoretically to make that make sense.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's fair. And it's fair, important things to consider and to look at. I wasn't thinking about it in, my mental model and how I'm kind of picturing things, but those are very important considerations. So,
but I also need to be grounded sometimes too, because my mindset tends to come accompanied with a tinfoil hat a lot of the time. So I tend to be like, I've learned to bring it down to reality, but I still think that sometimes there's usually a middle ground to where I thought things are going to go and where they end up. So, I think it's going to be a little bit more reasonable than like, we're all going to see this huge blow off top at like $2 million for BTC. I don't think it's quite going to do something like that or be like mass adoption. I think it's gonna be something different. I don't know how it's going to look at all, honestly. But
who knows? It usually never looks how we all thought it was going to. I use my tinfoil hat to make sure I'm stay curious and to make sure I'm questioning.
Yes, nice.
Because otherwise, if I just run along with it, everything's going to be okay. It's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If everything was going to be okay, then I think we'd have discussions would be a lot different. All right, I have to give a lot of a massive credit to where credit is due because he is blowing up the comment section. Let's take a look at BTC dominance. Hat off to you, man, woman, whoever you are. You are absolutely blowing up the comment section, and I appreciate that. BTC dominance. Yeah. Can we please just drop? Please drop at some point. I would love for that.
I think we all would at this point.
Oh yeah.
Just dump already.
Just dump. Please, can we just be? Can you, Bitcoiners, just be done? Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
What do you think about that?
I want to ask you. I'm usually the one to start talking.
Well, I mean, the other chart that I've seen to go in line with this is I think it's others dominance. No, what is it? Is it altcoins? What is it? It's like, I think it's an altcoin. It's one of the altcoin charts, and I can't remember exactly which one it is on TradingView. But basically, if you go to, I think it's a weekly or monthly time frame, it's like a mega compression, upward compression on the altcoin chart that, like, it looks insanely bullish. And so
I'd agree.
Well, I mean, if we add everything up here, retail is MIA, completely MIA. The only thing that's ever made it onto the headlines is mostly Bitcoin. ETH has just started to get some headlines as like SharpLink Gaming and BlackRock or Trump or World Liberty Finance, has made a few purchases here or there for ETH. But mainly it's been BTC. And even then, BTC is kind of like not really like when I see these headlines, like Grayscale's $9 billion head start in Ethereum is at risk. Like, that's not a bullish headline. I think most people look at that like, anyways, right? But what I'm waiting for to see in the headlines is Ethereum's going to 80K or like, some super bullish, obviously meant to draw people in kind of headlines.
I agree.
And we haven't seen that with Ethereum. Ethereum is the mothership, and if the mothership is not taking off, the little ships attached to it sit on the ground and they do nothing.
I agree. To me, I was talking about this on a stream last week. Like, to me, this is just all noise.
Mm-hmm.
Like and this is my own personal filter as I'm like trying to distill down everything that's tossed at us, and especially on social media. You can have all the talking heads, everyone going ETH to 10, 30, 80, ETH to $1 million, whatever it may be. That's just hopium and trying to incite hopefulness and hype, but it is all noise.
Yeah, that's the media taking out their big old fishing rod and casting out a big juicy bait.
Let's see how everyone handles this.
Exactly.
And then I should probably, all right, one day I will get a TradingView account so that stops happening. Yeah, this just I'll be honest, I thought, okay, so we had Bitcoin dominance, yes, of course, after it launched, and then with all the other chains launching, yes, it would drop. I didn't think BTC dominance would be getting as close to the previous cycle high, or not previous cycle, 2 cycles ago, 1.5, whichever. I didn't think it would get back to these highs as it's slowly been creeping.
So why is it there in your opinion? Like, what is driving it back? Okay, well, let me ask you this first, so we can clarify. Why didn't you think it would get back to that previous all-time high, or come close to it, that previous range? And then why do you think it is going there or towards that now?
The reason why I'll answer the first one. The reason why I didn't think it was going to get back to that previous is because the evolution of crypto as it's been since the beginning. And as things evolved, more products come on, more things. So like real world assets, RWAs, that is definitely taking its own line share of within crypto world. I thought that yes, okay, you still got the Bitcoin maxis that are still heavily pushing for countries and businesses. I mean, everybody and their grandma to own 0.501 of a Bitcoin so you can make it. As that was still, knew that that's still going to continue to happen no matter what. I thought for a little while that the noise of Ethereum, Solana, other chains, what's being built on, where it's real assets, where I can go into a house, I can go to a coffee shop, I can go to a laundromat, I can go to whatever the business may be. I thought that would slowly chew away a little the lion's share. So Bitcoin would still do what Bitcoin does, but these highs, the line wouldn't be, oh, let's creep up back to this line. It would just be more, okay, let's not be so close up to here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought because of the evolution of crypto, what's being built, what's being created, so on and so forth. That's what I had in my head.
It makes sense to me. Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable expectation of how things would go. It is interesting that we are back where we are. I wouldn't have thought of ETH kind of hurting as much as it had been over the last while relative to BTC as well. So does this mean though, for the way you're seeing this, does this mean there is more potential coming for ETH relative to Bitcoin? Or do you think that this is going to be a trend into the future where BTC just overperforms ETH from here on out?
You tell me.
I know I asked you first.
I don't know. I don't know. Bitcoin is going, like I said, Bitcoin's going to maintain. I think I'm processing and I'm talking it out, so it's not going to be a complete coherent thought. I've got friends, got family members. They're like, I'll own gold before I own Bitcoin. I've got more family members than not who they'll have like a 14 karat gold ring. They'll have 24 karat gold necklace, or 8 karat gold, whatever it may be. But they're not going to go, you know what? I'm going to go buy, what is it called? Not bullion. I'm trying to think of like a half a bar, or I'm going to go buy a penny or like a coin worth of physical gold, store it in. They're like, what are going to be things that I can actually consume with? And so, I mean, gold, you're doing transaction. Bitcoin, it's transactionary. So all right, I'm just going to go somewhere else. So what I see gold is not everyone's going to have it, but that the vast majority of the population, it's going to be, well, cool, I got this. Well, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to hold it. Cool. Kind of just like physical gold. I've got it. I may put it into jewelry or something. With Bitcoin, embedded into, being able to embed into maybe into certain products. But the bulk of what we as consumers is you want to consume something with what we buy. And so I see ETH, Solana, go be a complete degen and just lose all your money, have fun with that. But like, that's the casino. If you are a casino guy and you like the casino, have at it. I tried it once,
I mean, I
and
feel like that's like the back room of the casino, honestly.
yeah,
You know, it's like they take you back there and there's a bunch of interesting
that's a
colored
fair point.
lights and
That's a fair point. But like
they,
even with it, like Solana, Tron, something happened with Tron recently. I don't know. I can't. I'd have to look it up. But I see. Okay, how can I consume and transact using not only yes the network, but everything that's been built on it as like an easy as a consumer? How can I easily consume some of this as opposed to I bought it. All right, now if you hold it, it's going to go up in value. I mean, what is the gold? Let's look at what is gold right now. I don't know how much. Was it? Was it? All right. Here you go. I mean, good for gold. Of course, it's increased.
mm-hmm.
So this I'm not. This is me speculating. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. Come up with your own hypothesis, your own opinions, your own thoughts. This is not me. Don't buy anything based upon what we talk about. We're just two friends having a conversation. All those lovely sayings.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Bitcoin is just buy and hold, but you're not really transacting. And you're not going to have a majority of the population going, hey, guess what? Look at my gold I'm holding. Look at my Bitcoin that I'm holding in. This isn't a wallet, but look, I'm holding Bitcoin in my wallet. Check it out. It's like, cool. Nice. That's core, not an actual wallet. But cool, you got it in your cold wallet. Anyway, that's how I see it.
It is an interesting thing because when you have something you can do with it, something you can when you can almost like show it off, you can brandish it in some way. When you can, like you said, consume it, there's a different kind of appeal for sure. So it doesn't really, I mean, at this point, BTC doesn't have that appeal. I mean, because if you were to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wear my ledger around my neck, as though you're gonna get beaten to a pulp, dragged into a car immediately. So
what's your pen?
Yeah, and you know what? Ledger actually like advertised that as like part of their thing. They had like a chain that they were advertising as like wearing your ledger around your neck. It was probably like the worst marketing I've ever seen in my life. I don't think they thought that one through at all.
What was the recent one? Ledger, I think it was, they released product. It was like, hey, are you worried about your ledger getting hacked? Don't worry, we have a backdoor. We have this company we partnered with that can rescue your tokens. And I'm like,
wait, do you
pause?
Hear what I'm hearing? Yeah. Ledgers. I think Ledger's lost the plot. Personally, I don't touch Ledger at all. I'm a Trezor guy, and I'm even waiting for the day where Trezor comes out with something where I have to like find another one. I'm assuming like all these companies at some point are going to have something that's going to happen. So,
oh yeah, it's a matter of if, not it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, so you can't plan too far ahead in that sense, but you got to be just kind of observant. But what I wanted to say about this whole ETH thing too, or Ether BTC, is
please.
What's interesting about BTC is if you look at like BlackRock's videos, they put out a video a while ago. Michael Saylor shared it, and it was basically saying in fine print in the video, it was talking about Bitcoin supply, and it was like, oh, there's 21 million Bitcoin, and then in fine print it said, there's no guarantee the 21 million supply won't be changed in the future. And so it's like, well, okay. BlackRock has some interesting plans. Did you see this?
No.
Okay, let me go on. I'm gonna try and find it.
Please.
It was
holy smokes.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it here, because I've talked about it many times, but it's still I think there's still like yourself a ton of people that have not seen it yet. So that one blew me away. That one really blew me away. And I think people need to remember that like these companies want control. These corporations, they want control. So BTC is not, I don't know how it's going to be marketed, but I can see, this is on a separate subject just because I wanted to go to ETH eventually.
Yeah.
That ETH is a different beast. You know, ETH is, I think it has the potential to be something that's extraordinarily valuable. If you look at the roadmap and the vision that Vitalik has started to talk about privacy and all this, you know, there's, well, and let's even look, okay, where is most, if USDC, right? If USDC is going to be utilized, right, where is it mostly utilized? Well, I mean, it's Tron, a lot of, well, USDT is mostly Tron, but USDC specifically, like let's say Shopify and all these e-commerce and everything else starts adopting USDC, I think we're going to see most of that value on Ethereum, especially considering I think there was just a major issue with Solana recently, again, and you know, you're going to have all these L2s and L2s on Ethereum, which I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work in tandem with Ethereum, but I think most of the big dApps, most of the transaction volume will still go through Ethereum. I can kind of see it. So even if it's not, if most of the transaction volume is even on layer ones, or layer twos, sorry, on Ethereum, I could see that being, it's still infrastructure being built on top of it. And if the Ethereum Foundation can find a way to not have value leak out of the L, or not have basically it come back as like a negative externality and come back to enhance the L1, right? Instead of just feeding value into the L2s only, right? Then I think there's a real good chance that Ethereum, because of how long it's been around, how bulletproof it's been, I can personally see it as a good potential for it to last and have a lot of value as a token, because it's not like Bitcoin where you just buy and hold it and wear it around your neck if you're a crazy person. You know, you can actually utilize it for potentially real world assets.
Yeah.
You know, you'll like, that whole era is coming in. And if that goes to Ethereum, I mean, if AI and AI agents and real world assets and all this scaling technologically, I'll say, comes and it finds a home on Ethereum, would that not mean that Ethereum would have a higher valuation in total because there's more demand, more use case for the gas token and the network itself, right?
100%.
So that's where I go. And then if we want to tie this all the way back to Titan X, what does that mean for Titan X? Well, if the whole chain's going up in value, that probably means Titan X going up in value. And, you know,
and then Taurus for the win. Oh, 100%. So I do want, there was one comment you made and I was curious how, so you're leading the Ethereum roadmap. What changes would you bring to improve? So yes, okay, here's the ones they're looking to bring for Fusaka.
I love that name, by the way. I feel like what's there's one of the characters from, I don't know why, it's Fusaka. It's like a way.
All right, you're gonna have to teach me, man. You're gonna have to teach me this.
I love these names. They're great.
I've never heard.
Oh, so no. There's someone says Mufasa.
Oh, okay.
Mufasa.
Yeah. Fusaka. Okay. I'm smelling what you're stepping in. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why that came to mind, but it did. I'm gonna lean into it. So.
Love it. What would you bring to bring more attention, more build, and pretty much empower the L1, empower the Ethereum as an L1? Well, curious what, because you were like, you know, bringing more value, so back to like home base, bring back to the core, so that way not everything's like, oh, let's go to base, let's go to blah, 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 let's go to here. What would you do to bring kind of that core value back? What do you think? It's kind of like your top two things that you would like to see, or maybe it is in the roadmap and I just haven't looked. I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I don't want to dare step into the computer scientist role because I'm not one, you know. I have a very limited understanding of, which is why I was even hesitant before to really say much.
You're good.
I would, the thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if this holds too much merit. I could see how privacy, it could be a massive thing. I mean, if you're institutions and you want to hide your customers' funds, can you do it on a public ledger? Not really, because if there's a data leak, like we've seen in Coinbase or like on all these exchanges that constantly have failures, because there's a link directly to wallets and there's a link with customers' information, they can see all this stuff. And so I think there's an argument, maybe limited, but I think there's an argument for institutions actually wanting to come to Ethereum when they can protect their own data in the same way that like a bank can or a regular company can. But right now they can't. It's really easy for one bit of information to be leaked and then a whole bunch of other data to come out because of it. And that's the way Ethereum's going right now too. You look at the privacy roadmap that he's put out, and like, I mean, they want to do a ton of security and privacy parameters that I don't know how long it's going to take, but that's the direction Vitalik is pushing these right now. And I think that's amazing. Basically taking Tornado Cash out of the picture, making it so that way you don't have to go to some odd, obscure thing that could potentially be sanctioned. Like, it's literally built into the chain to protect you and everyone else from, being like tracked and monitored in a way that you shouldn't be. And I think that's actually bullish more than people are giving it credit for, because it applies to institutions as well and protects their customer base, which is really big.
Yeah, isn't it with Circle they can block? Can't they block addresses or be like, nope, you can't transact?
Yeah, they can freeze or blacklist.
That's it.
Yeah, they can prevent an address from receiving USDC or freeze one that is actually holding it. And most stable coins can do that. And I think that's part of like legalities. Like, they have to be able to do, like I think Tether has that, USDC has that. I don't think all stable coins are like that, but I think the major ones, and we've seen it time and time again at this point where Tether's been frozen or USDC has been frozen. Those have been headlines for like a while now.
I'm curious how you do that on a blockchain. How do you, not asking you to sort it out and give me an answer. It's more of an inquisitive, just out there. Like,
well, I can actually tell you that.
How do you do privacy on a public? You know where I'm going.
I see what you with the private. I think I ask about how the freeze function works, but yeah, the privacy is
no.
I mean, I don't want to. I've read the Talix white paper, and I would not pretend for a moment like now I get it after I've read someone else's, consolidation of their years of thinking.
You be the AI. I'll just start asking you questions, and since you've ingested the white paper, you can just start spouting facts for all.
Oh my God, I need a different acronym for AI then, because it's no longer AI. Oh man, I don't know. I think So sorry, ask me the question one more time. I can see.
So on a public ledger, how do you build privacy on a public ledger so everyone can see? I'm thinking, and of course in my mind I have Richard Hart saying, he's like, you got in one of his videos from like 4 years ago, he's like, it's just an Excel spreadsheet. So like you visualizing like an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm just looking row by row. How, and you don't see the person, you just see the address. But how do you enforce privacy on something where you can see all the addresses from to the gas that was cost, so on and so forth?
I mean, it comes down to like, well, if you just look at a fundamental level, like kind of like what you're saying, right? It comes down to the spreadsheet. What does the spreadsheet display, right? So to me, privacy comes down to finding a way to display less and verify in the same way, right? So if the spreadsheet can display as minimal as possible, so that way people cannot track and figure out what's going on, right, in that transaction minimally, while maintaining enough data through whether it's like roll-ups or wrapping or whatever other crazy stuff that they have out there, which I'm out of touch with,
Oh, you're
to consolidate the computational data and make it so it's what goes in is not what's spit out. So there's
okay.
no like link there specifically.
Okay.
You know, at least philosophically, I think that should be no problem to be able to do. It's just obviously that's a lot of technology and advancement and
Oh, yeah.
sure, insane amount of work that needs to go in to bulletproof that.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's you have to figure out too. Okay, well, on the for validators, do they get to see the data, or do they validate in our transactions that are based on like I'm going to call it a compressed data set, right? Like where like instead of you getting all 10 digits, you get like 2 or 3,
like a zip file.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, are they validating zip files, or are they validating what's the contents of the zip file? And if it's a zip file they're getting, how are they accessing the zip file? Do only they have the software, or can that software be run somewhere else? Like, you know, it's, and I'm sure there's way more questions.
Oh, sure.
Than just the oversimplification of what we're talking about now too. So it's like, it's extremely complex, but I think it's super important, which is why I was so glad to see Vitalik put that out. Like, that made me
100%.
have so much faith in Ethereum again, that we're gonna rock it at some point here.
100%.
I think that's why the institutions are buying, is because they know where Ethereum's going and they see all the other infrastructure and they're comparing it to Ethereum. It's time in the market. The founder, although he's at times been not someone to lean on, you know, some of the images, the memes.
Everyone's a character.
Oh man, we all are. But yeah, it's where my head goes with all this.
Okay, I'm bringing up your comment about like all the buying. No, very true. All right, real quick before we continue on. All right, Utah Crypto, what's up, man?
Utah,
you are the man. Thanks for joining. Hey, we've hit 200.
Let's
200
go.
people viewing.
Well, real quick, if you guys are watching this and you haven't followed Kflow on X, give the man a follow.
Gentleman and a scholar. I'm pretty sure everyone who's following me is following you. So
there's probably a bit of a crossover there.
Definitely. Was this, I think, to your point about, pulling from, so someone screenshot this from Glassnode. I'm not paying the Glassnode. I think it's like $45 a month. I've got enough subscriptions going on right now to add another like $45 a month to one. I think I'm good at the moment. But whale net position, address is 1K to 10K. Yeah. Ever since, to your comment, the accumulation, and what you're gonna have to help me a little bit with this. I see the accumulation by whales in the tens, hundreds of millions over the past couple weeks, and my mind immediately goes to, why is price not even going up more? And do you know that dynamic? Because I'm thinking just in terms of supply demand. Demand is going up because all these institutions are buying. But then as we kind of looked at earlier with the active addresses, it's a very slow, I say low, but a steady amount of active addresses that price, it's not really affecting price as much as I thought. So I'm like trying to think, how does supply demand dynamics, how that's changed? I don't know. I don't know if you have an idea or insight into why when institutions buy, 800,000 ETH, that's what? How many billion? Or almost. And this was tweeted out today. So in the past week, you got $1 billion worth of ETH. Why has price not moved more than it has? And if not, at times, it's dipped that 5%.
Well, the only answer that seems to make sense is, this isn't, I mean, it's like there's two markets going on, right? There's the over-the-counter market, and then there's the exchange market or the order book. And the order book is the one that moves the price. And so if these whales are accumulating over the counter, then you won't see that effect on the price. You never will. And so I'm going to pull up, if I may.
Yeah, please do.
There's
move that off stage. All you, man.
Let's see here. Share screen. I think it's this one here. This one's really important. Please. So what this is this is the ETH balance on exchanges total. Look at how low we are.
Oh, holy smokes. Okay.
There is no ETH available. This is the lowest we've seen ETH since. Now, what's interesting here, and I this has been fascinating, because what this implies, if we go back in history, right, we look here. Okay, so people started buying ETH like crazy March 2017. The top was,
it's delayed,
right?
Interesting.
But look at the ETH balance, right? It went down, 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 and then the top saw people selling it off.
Oh, this is a fascinating graph. It's inverse or inverted. Interesting.
So now, here's something else to think about. We are here, but we are here in price, meaning there's something going on here, right? And what I mean by that is, this is a time when there was peak retail, and retail was buying up everything. Yeah. But now retail is nowhere to be found, and we're here. So does this mean that, well, for one, this means that the exchanges have been obviously been having all the ETH purchased up. Retail's nowhere to be found. So that means institutions are buying, right? Yep. That means all the major players are purchasing. Yeah. So what happens when we saw retail come in last time? ETH dove in terms of its availability. Yeah. And the price rocketed. So what may happen this time when we have that same scenario, except now we have a lower starting point? There's even less Ethereum. The only time there's been less Ethereum available has been all the way back to 2016. Which is kind of crazy to think about. So this is why I'm so bullish of like, oh my God, the setup here is absolutely unbelievable. Like, there's the least amount of ETH there's basically been since almost 10 years ago, since the inception of the damn thing. Yeah. Right. And then if we go further too, it's like, okay, well, let's look at the MVRV, the market value to realized value ratio, which looks at the average purchase price versus the historical movement over the last, I can't remember how many days it is. And this typically has shown.
Will you dual zoom out? Right. We're getting, at least on my screen, I'm getting like chopped pieces. So when you're trying to keep it in full, like minimize.
Oh, I see. Let me see if I can.
I don't know if you're using a Mac, command minus. I don't know, or if there's another way. Aha, yes.
Yeah, there we go. So this here is one of my favorite charts, because it shows the bottoms like perfectly always. And we are just off of a bottom here, and we have barely moved. And yet if we go back to that other chart that we were just at, it should imply that we're near a top. So do you see what I'm saying here? Like, the setup here is crazy because we have less ETH available than we've had since 2016 for the purchase of retail. We have closer to a bottom than we had at that time. Yep. We're literally just coming off a bottom. And if we go even further, like, what are my other ones?
Before you jump, will you just explain again MVRV? I'm still wrapping my head around it. It's not 100% clear.
It's a little, I'm going to read the description because it's a little bit easier to, and, or to explain. So this chart represents, actually, let me go to the actual MVRV, not the market value extremes. the Z score is when you could ETH is usually behind a paywall, but you can use this indicator for BTC as well, and it's the best, like the best. That's why there was a tweet I put out. I think it was right around this date. I think it was in April, mid-April, where I said now's a good time to buy ETH and Titan X because I saw this chart and I was like, that's a bottom. That's 100%. Absolutely bottom.
100%.
So this was phenomenal. So the market value, realized value score evaluates whether ETH is overvalued or undervalued relative to its fair value. So instead of a traditional Z-score method, I don't actually know what that is. The MVRV Z-score uniquely compares the market value to the realized value, which is more like an average.
Okay.
Right. So the realized value is a historical relative to today value. So when the market value measured as network valuation by spot price, so market value spot price is multiplied by supply, or sorry, measured as network valuation by spot price multiplied by supply is significantly higher than the realized value represented by the cumulative capital inflow into the asset. It has typically signaled a market top, red zone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so Z-score, just so you know, it's usually how many standard deviations from the mean it is.
Ah, okay.
So positive Z-score is, so if you have a Z-score of 3, it's 3 standard deviations from the mean. Negative is the opposite direction.
Gotcha. Okay, that's actually great to know. So this is implying we have not had much standard deviation at all. In fact, we're barely
hardly any.
Yeah, we're not even at 1 yet.
No.
Like that's insane. And I mean, we could keep going on and on. We go to the pi cycle top indicator.
Interesting.
There's nothing like the tops always have crossover. We're literally going wider. Reserve risk is another interesting one. Or is it dormancy flow? Or maybe that's a BTC one I'm thinking of. The net unrealized profit loss is also a fascinating one. This shows that we are kind of stagnant here. Like we were at levels that we were at just up from the bottom, but we're nowhere near any kind of elevated profit levels, right? We're kind of in this middle ground here, like right smack dab in the middle.
Yep.
So not much profit, not much loss. Dormancy flow. I believe this one's kind of interesting. This one is I believe this is the confidence.
Dormancy flow is the ratio of current market capitalization and the annualized dormancy value. That you can't use the same word in the definition. Son of a gun. Annualized dormancy. What does that mean?
I'm actually thinking of a different one than this one, but then I'm thinking of BTC. Let me go to the BTC charts for a second, like because this one's actually cool. So this just showing us where we are in the market. So reserve risk. This is kind of like a confidence chart. Like when the price is high and there's what is it here? Just to read it out to you. So so HODL bank is a previous other indicator. But essentially, it's used to assess the confidence of long-term holders relative to the price of the native coin at any given moment in time. So when confidence is high and the price is low, there's an attractive risk reward to invest. And when the confidence is low and price is high, the risk reward is unattractive at that time. So this is the reserve risk.
How are they determining confidence? And is that on a scale of 0 to 1? Is that 1 to 10?
That's a great question, actually. I think it would be
reserve risk. Okay, it's 0 to 1. Oh, and they get really finite.
Yep.
So how are you calculating confidence? Is that social sentiment? Is that buying versus selling? Is that
Let's see here.
So if I had a confidence of 0.012, random number, nothing behind it, how is that determined?
I believe it's something to do with the HODL wave here. And this is to do with specifically holding.
Okay.
Right. So the strength, I think the confidence seems to be, let's see here. This, the idea, so the Bitcoin days are defined as quantity. Oh, these are Bitcoin days.
Bitcoin multiplied.
I mean, there's so much this is the thing about a lot of these indicators too, guys, is for those of you watching, it's like, there's a lot to understand to this, to really, 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 really know, like, I'm bringing stuff up here, but as you can see, it's like, it's hard to really understand these indicators to a point where you can actually trust them so well. You know, it's like there's so much going into these. So this is the HODL bank, though.
Okay.
So how should we interpret the decision by holders to defer spending over time? Actually, I don't know if this is it. I think it's just
Reserve it.
So what I would do. Hey, here's something cool that I could show people that are watching right now.
Please.
So what I would do is I would take this whole article. I would just
go to
copy it.
Grok.
Go to Grok.
Or ChatGPT, wherever you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. And just say, summarize this so that I can understand how this relates to the, is it reserve risk? Yeah, reserve risk indicator.
Yeah.
And I don't think you guys can see this, but actually I'll share this tab. So I've just gone and I've said, summarize this so I can understand this, how it relates to the reserve risk indicator for BTC. And if I was going to do this myself, I would probably add a few more prompts depending on what I wanted, but
sure.
I'll keep it simple for now.
Yeah, you're doing a zero shot prompt. It's going to be take it with a grain of grain of sand.
So the good thing is usually it's pretty easy to elaborate on this and find out where the holes are. So usually it does its whole thing. So how reserve risk relates to BTC, I would skip to here. Or no. So we want to see how reserve risk. So definition of reserve risk is calculated by dividing the current Bitcoin price by the HODL bank. HODL bank definition represents the cumulative opportunity cost of hodlers choosing not to sell, calculated as the sum of USD value not spent. Interesting. Purpose. It measures market confidence in Bitcoin's future value. A growing HODL bank indicates hodlers expect higher future prices, reflecting strong conviction. There's your confidence.
Okay, hang on. I'm rereading the definition just so we can go to reserve risk.
Yep.
HODL bank represents the cumulative opportunity cost of hodlers choosing. What does it mean, cumulative opportunity cost? How is that defined?
I think it's by looking at those not selling and seeing where it is relative to price, right? Like the higher the total value goes, that's like opportunity to sell. Choosing not to sell is like that, the HODL bank going up, where people have the opportunity to sell at gains, and then not selling, meaning that there's an opportunity cost. I would is somewhere.
That's how you're interpreting. Okay.
That's how I'm seeing it. This is the only way I'm seeing it actually makes sense.
You know what? Just for sake of conversation, I'm going to run with it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So I could be in profit 10%. So, and I'm choosing not to sell. So that would be, okay. So that's the cost.
And assuming that you and others are doing the same, that are also hodling, the HODL bank would increase, right? As more gains, less selling, HODL bank increases.
100%. And so the reserve risk is by dividing the current price. So 100, let's say, 104. I bought it 100. It's by dividing. So you take the Bitcoin price, divide by HODL bank. Low reserve risk when it falls too low indicates high hodler confidence. Low. When the Bitcoin price is low relative to the HODL bank, relative to the cost of hodlers choosing not to sell, it indicates high confidence. Yeah, that makes sense. And low pressure selling. Yes, because everyone's going higher, higher, higher.
Mm-hmm.
High reserve risk. This is as I'm understanding this, at least how I'm interpreting now, this is probably why Bitcoin is slow to do higher highs, is because there is, as it increases in price, it's a theory, it's a hypothesis, is, if someone, if I say I'm not saying me actually, someone could have bought it when it was 30K, however many years ago, and they had here's my exit strategy, and the exit is at 110, or for many people, so a higher reserve risk. Okay. I'm just talking out loud. Don't worry about me.
No, it's great. No, I think that's how I process things too, is to just like speak it out and hear my own voice and be like, no, wait. Or oh yeah, that actually sounds good.
Okay.
So this is why I find reserve risk so fascinating, because right now the price is going higher and the reserve risk is still quite low. So bring it
a
back,
reserve risk of 1 to the higher to 0.05. Interesting. It wouldn't. It the reserve risk keeps going down each cycle.
well, here's where I think this indicator can trick you with this cycle here.
Please.
Because this was an irregular cycle, in my opinion, where we had tightening, and none of the other cycles had it.
Yeah.
On the top, right? So this messed up the cycle. Then there was some mining stuff I think the Chinese mining stuff that came in afterwards and kind of reignited it, and then it died again.
Yeah.
So we have this kind of like stunted growth here, but you can see it was the trajectory was the same. It's just going vertical, right? And then it got stunted, tried again, died. But these all, like if we look here, it's going down, but it's not going in a pattern, because if it was going in a pattern, we'd say, okay, top, top, top.
It would be consistent.
Right? Versus top, top, top. You know, and even if we want to use this one, right? We can't actually say that there's any kind of correlation so far. We can say, yes, it's declining, but what's declining in a there's no rhyme to it specifically, right? Like it's slower, but we don't know how much. And so even if we want to play with this, though, look at the level that Bitcoin's sitting at right now, and notice what happened with the top. The amount here is actually less important to me than the shape. And what I mean by that is, look at it going vertical. Vertical. That is consistent, right? We have yet to see BTC actually do any sort of vertical movement, right? And so the reason why I bring this up is because it's like, if we go to all of these different charts that we could go to, we go to the Pi cycle top indicator for BTC. Every single one of these is pointing to we're nowhere near a top. So this coming back to Ethereum, meaning if Ethereum's having all this inflow that's starting to be developed on it, interest, and BTC hasn't even started, and we're already at 105K. I mean, this seems like it could be a pretty crazy cycle.
Bitcoin this cycle.
Oh man. So that's what I'm thinking, man.
What is this is Pi cycle. What's the definition of Pi cycle?
It's the 350-day moving average and the 111-day moving average overlaid on the BTC price.
Okay.
Or 350 times 2, I believe it is. So it's like 7. I think it's 700.
Okay. 7-day moving day. Okay.
So yeah, it's interesting.
It's why I think, and I'm gonna go. Let me go find a chart.
I just realized what time it is. I gotta go soon. Wow.
Yeah, man. It flew. Holy smokes. You know what? This is why I think I know I can't do it. I'm going back to TradingView, and then we'll just wrap it up here. One hypothesis I have is when we look at, and this is only a little tidbit I'm going to do, and I've put it out there before, is why I think for Titan X specifically, and it almost feels more vindicated after looking at all those metrics, but why when Jake turned on, was it V2, it was the perfect time for at least one of the buy and burns, because being able to reduce the greatest before I do that, the greatest amount of supply you possibly could, given the price of ETH at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because Do you want to call for it as it's ramping up to 4K, or do you want to call for it as ETH was 1500? And then we're looking at ETH here, and we're just saying, Dev, do something.
Yep. I mean,
Like,
obviously the lower.
yeah. So anyway, oh, I went too far back. Anyway, that's my hypothesis.
I like it, actually. It's interesting. And I think you're probably onto something. I haven't spent much time thinking about why the use case of the V2 happened when it did. I'll have to ponder on that. You've
And
left me with something.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. I know you got to run. Thank you, all 280 people. Thank you for tuning in to our little crypto data deep dive. Didn't just stuck with Titanx. We looked at, all right, charts, macros, everything. Appreciate all y'all joining.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone being here. Let's do this again, man.
Yeah, man.